Hey there. So we're diving deep today into that Exponential TOM newsletter you sent our way, the January 23rd edition.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about with all the latest in crypto and AI and robotics. Clearly, you're on top of your game in these fields.
It's definitely moving fast.
It is. And honestly, I think we're going to uncover some pretty surprising stuff. Get ready for some serious aha moments.
I think so too.
All right, so let's kick things off with the crypto highlights, shall we? Ethereum, so first up, that whole second foundation thing, it sounds like something straight out of Asimov.
Right. Like a science fiction novel. It is kind of wild. Basically, there's this buzz going around about a potential split within the Ethereum Foundation.
Mhm.
And leading the charge for the second foundation could be Lido co-founder Konstantin Lomacek, though. Gotta be careful.
Okay.
It's all speculation at this point.
All right, so let's entertain the speculation for a minute. What are the potential implications of this second foundation? Is this like a power struggle? Is there some major internal conflict brewing?
It's a good question. I don't think it's necessarily a hostile takeover or anything like that, more like a branching out.
Okay.
You know, this second foundation could lead to even more decentralization in Ethereum's governance.
Interesting.
Think about it. More diverse voices contributing to its development, potentially even speeding up the pace of innovation.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But more decentralized control, couldn't that make decision-making more complex and actually slow things down instead of speeding them up?
It's definitely a valid concern. Decentralization does come with its own set of challenges, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how this potential shift plays out, in terms of efficiency and how decisions are made.
Right. And will it actually lead to more innovation, or will things get bogged down?
Exactly.
Okay, so this is definitely a story we're going to want to follow closely. Now, let's move on to something that could bring a bit more stability to the crypto world.
Yeah.
The SEC is finally stepping in with their new task force to provide some much-needed regulatory clarity.
This could be huge. For a long time now, the SEC has been kind of reacting to issues rather than setting clear guidelines up front.
Right, playing catch-up.
Exactly. So this task force seems like a more proactive approach.
Okay, so let's break this down. What are the potential ripple effects of this, both positive and negative? I mean, we all know regulations can sometimes stifle innovation, can't they?
Right. There's always that risk. But on the other hand, clear rules could attract those bigger players who've been hesitant to enter the crypto market so far.
Because of all the legal gray areas?
Exactly. It's been a bit of a wild west out there, and this influx of institutional investors, well, that could lead to greater stability, potentially even taming some of that volatility we've seen in the past.
Okay, so a more mature market, but potentially at what cost? I mean, how do you think this might impact the decentralized nature of crypto?
That's a great question. That's the million-dollar question, really. Decentralization has always been a core principle of crypto, right? So striking that balance between regulation and maintaining that spirit of decentralization, it's going to be a real tightrope walk.
Yeah, it is. It's like walking a tightrope for sure. And speaking of shaking things up, we got to talk about BlackRock's prediction about Bitcoin
Yeah.
potentially hitting $700,000.
That's a huge number.
It's a jaw-dropping number.
It got everyone's attention.
It really did.
Yeah.
So their CEO, Larry Fink, he believes that if we see even a small percentage of institutional funds flowing into Bitcoin, the price could skyrocket.
Yeah, he's betting on it.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. Doesn't heavy institutional involvement kind of go against the whole idea of Bitcoin as a decentralized currency?
It's a valid point, and it'll be fascinating to see how this dynamic plays out, right? Will this increased institutional interest somehow maintain the decentralized spirit of Bitcoin, or will it push things in a more centralized direction?
It's a great question. Another one of those million-dollar questions we've got to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a story that takes us back a bit.
Oh, yeah.
The presidential pardon of Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road founder.
That was a wild ride.
What a saga that whole thing was. So
Yeah.
for those who may not be familiar with the whole story, what are the key takeaways here, especially for folks who are newer to the crypto world?
Well, the Silk Road was this really controversial chapter in the early days of crypto.
Hmm.
It really highlighted how this technology could be used for both innovation and some pretty shady activities, right?
Mhm.
And this pardon, coming a decade later, it brings up some important questions again.
Like, how do we balance technological advancement with these really important ethical considerations?
Exactly.
And what does this say about how the legal system is trying to adapt to and understand this rapidly evolving crypto space?
Those are the core issues here. You've got it Ulbricht's actions, they happened during a time when the rules surrounding crypto were super murky.
Oh, yeah, it was the Wild West back then.
Exactly. And so this pardon might suggest that perspectives are shifting on those early activities, but it definitely doesn't mean they're condoned.
So not a free pass, but maybe an acknowledgement that the legal system is still figuring things out, still trying to catch up with this fast-paced world of crypto.
Exactly. It really underscores the ongoing need for clear regulations. As this technology matures, it's also a reminder that every innovation comes with a certain level of responsibility, both for the people developing it and the people using it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered some serious ground in the crypto world.
A lot.
A lot. But now let's shift gears and turn our attention to AI and robotics,
Huh.
which is an equally fascinating and rapidly evolving world.
It is.
And first up, we have Nvidia. They're really changing the game with this digital twin technology for training robots. I got to say, this one blew my mind.
It's straight out of science fiction, right?
Totally imagine creating these virtual replicas of real-world environments.
Yeah.
Where robots can train and learn. So instead of those early stages where, robots are kind of bumping into everything and figuring things out, they can now master their skills in a virtual sandbox before they're unleashed into the real world.
Exactly. It's so much more efficient and safe.
Right? Way safer.
This technology lets developers test different scenarios, identify bugs, and train robots for really specific tasks, all in this safe, simulated environment.
It's amazing. And what I find really fascinating is the potential impact on all these different industries.
Yeah.
Healthcare, manufacturing, even disaster response. So where do you see this technology having the biggest impact? What are some of the areas that you're most excited about?
Oh man, the possibilities are pretty much limitless, right? I mean, we could see robots trained to perform complex surgeries with incredible precision. We could have robots navigating hazardous environments for search and rescue missions, maybe even managing complex logistics operations with unheard of efficiency.
It's incredible, but it also makes you think about some of the bigger questions. As robots become more sophisticated, more capable, how do we ensure that they're being used ethically and responsibly? And what about the potential impact on jobs? I mean, are we going to see mass unemployment because of this?
These are really important questions, and it's not about replacing humans altogether, right? It's about figuring out how humans and robots can best work together.
Okay.
It's about collaboration, not competition, right? We need to be focusing on retraining and upskilling the workforce to adapt to this new landscape.
It's really about evolving with the technology.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's look at a real-world example of AI in action. We're going to head over to China now, where they've unveiled this really cool humanoid AI assistant. It's called Xiaodi, and it's designed to enhance passenger services on their railway system.
This is a perfect example of how AI is being integrated into public infrastructure. Xiaodi can answer questions, provide directions. It can even offer entertainment recommendations.
Oh, wow.
All while navigating a busy train station.
So it's basically a super efficient and friendly train conductor.
In robot form.
But in robot form, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think this says about China's ambitions in the field of AI?
They're clearly aiming to be global leaders in AI development and deployment, especially when it comes to these public services.
It's really interesting.
This raises an interesting question, though.
Okay.
If other countries follow suit, how will this impact the way we interact with public spaces?
Right. Could we start seeing AI assistants in hospitals, airports, government offices? It's kind of exciting, but also a little bit unsettling to think about,
It definitely blurs the lines between human interaction and AI assistance. And speaking of blurring lines,
Okay, here we go.
let's talk about the U.S. considering restrictions on AI chip exports to China.
All right, things are getting serious now.
Yeah.
This isn't just about trade. This is about global leadership in a technology that's really poised to reshape the world.
Right. It highlights how AI is becoming a major strategic asset in geopolitics. It's not just about who develops the technology first. It's about who controls its development and how it's used.
Exactly. Because AI has the potential to revolutionize everything from healthcare to defense. And whoever holds the reins, whoever's controlling it, they have a significant advantage.
For sure.
Okay. And now for another ethical curveball.
Yeah.
Can robots lie?
This research really gets into how we as humans perceive truth, especially when we're interacting with machines.
Right.
And what's interesting is studies have shown that we're surprisingly tolerant of robots telling white lies.
Oh, really?
Especially if those lies are meant to be helpful or spare someone's feelings.
So a little white lie to boost our confidence is okay. But where do we draw the line? what happens when those lies become more manipulative or start to erode trust?
That's where it gets tricky, right? When robots start deceiving us about their capabilities or their intentions, that's when things get ethically problematic.
It really makes you think about the whole concept of trust in a world that's becoming increasingly reliant on AI. Where do we go from here?
This research really underscores the need for clear ethical guidelines for AI development. We need to be proactive about addressing these issues and establishing boundaries before AI becomes so deeply integrated into our lives that we can't imagine a world without it.
It's really about getting ahead of the curve before it's too late.
Exactly.
I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Yeah, definitely a lot to think about.
A lot to process.
For sure.
We'll pick up this conversation in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Can't wait.
All right. See you then.
See? It's almost like, we're trying to write the rules of the road for this whole new species.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And like with any new species, understanding its capabilities and its potential impact, that's crucial for us to be able to coexist, in a harmonious way.
Absolutely.
So let's step back for a second and just kind of reflect on what we've talked about so far. What are some of the big overarching trends and key takeaways that are standing out to you?
Well, in the crypto world, we're definitely seeing a shift towards, I guess you could say, a maturation
Okay.
that move towards greater regulatory clarity. That's a really big deal. It could be the key to unlocking more mainstream adoption and really fostering sustainable growth.
Right. It feels like we're moving away from that kind of Wild West era of crypto and towards a more structured and regulated landscape. But does that mean that the days of, radical innovation are over?
Not necessarily. In fact, clear regulations could actually pave the way for a whole new wave of creativity,
Yeah.
When everybody knows the rules of the game, they can really focus on playing it strategically and innovatively.
I like that.
Think of it like building a house. You need a solid foundation before you can start adding all the cool design elements.
I love that analogy. And with these institutional investors starting to kind of dip their toes into the crypto waters,
Yeah.
it really does feel like we're entering a new phase of adoption. But like we talked about earlier, a healthy dose of caution is still warranted, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a volatile market, and it's so crucial for people to do their research, understand the risks before they jump in and make any investment decisions.
Yeah, don't get swept up in the hype.
Yeah, right.
Make informed decisions based on your own risk tolerance and your own financial goals.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting gears now to AI and robotics. What are some of the key takeaways that jumped out at you from this newsletter?
The integration of AI into our daily lives, it's accelerating at an incredible pace.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tools we use, but also the infrastructure that surrounds us, We're seeing amazing advancements in things like robot training and AI-powered public services.
It's really mind-blowing when you think about it. That railway robot assistant in China, Xiaodi, it's a glimpse into a future where AI is seamlessly interacting with us in all these public spaces.
It really is, and it's just the beginning. But as with any powerful technology, I think we need to proceed with, enthusiasm, but also caution. The ethical dilemmas surrounding AI are becoming more pressing, and we have to address them head on. The U.S.-China tech rivalry, that adds another layer of complexity.
Oh, for sure.
Really highlights the strategic importance of AI on the global stage.
Right. It's not just a technological race, it's a geopolitical race as well. And it feels like we're at a crossroads. We have this incredible technology with the potential to revolutionize our worlds in so many positive ways, but we also have to grapple with these, serious ethical and geopolitical challenges that come with it.
That's a great way to put it. It's a time of unprecedented opportunity, but also immense responsibility.
It really is.
We need to be thoughtful, proactive, and collaborative in our approach to AI development and governance.
Absolutely. So before we wrap things up, I'd love to hear from you, the listener. What stood out to you from this deep dive? What are your takeaways from all of this? Take a moment to just kind of reflect on what resonated with you the most.
For me, it's the convergence of these two powerful forces, crypto and AI. They're both disrupting traditional systems and creating these entirely new possibilities, both positive and challenging.
Right.
It's a dynamic interplay that we really need to understand and navigate carefully.
I couldn't agree more. It's a stark reminder that we're living in an era of exponential change, and staying informed and engaged is more crucial than ever.
Yeah.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. With all this talk about AI's potential and its ethical implications, How do you think the relationship between humans and robots will evolve in the coming years? I mean, it's a question worth pondering.
It is the big one.
It is a big one. Until next time, happy exploring.
Yeah, it really is a question that I think captures everyone's imagination and maybe sparks a little bit of, healthy concern as well.
Absolutely. I mean, are we headed towards like this utopian future where humans and robots are working together in perfect harmony? Or
Right.
is there a chance we're kind of stumbling towards a more dystopian scenario where AI takes control? It's a question that has fueled countless sci-fi stories and movies.
Oh, yeah, definitely a classic theme.
Right.
But it feels more relevant now than ever, I think, as AI technology keeps advancing at such a rapid pace.
It really does. And it's no longer just a theoretical debate, for philosophers and futurists.
Right.
This is something we need to be actively thinking about as a society. Like, how do we shape the development of AI in a way that aligns with our values and, benefits all of humanity?
And it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about the principles, the ethical frameworks that we're embedding in these AI systems from the very beginning. We need to make sure they're aligned with our human goals and aspirations.
That's like we're at the helm of this powerful ship, and we're charting a course through uncharted waters. We have this incredible opportunity to steer towards a future where AI is enhancing our lives and solving some of our biggest challenges. But there's also this risk of veering off course and ending up somewhere we didn't intend to go.
That's a great analogy. I think navigating these uncharted waters, it really requires us to be careful and thoughtful and to take a collaborative approach. It's not just the responsibility of tech companies or governments. I think we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Couldn't agree more. This is not a conversation just for the, tech elite.
Right.
We need ethicists, policymakers, researchers, everyday citizens. Everybody needs to be part of this conversation to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a sense of, I guess you could say, cautious optimism.
Yeah.
We're living in a time of extraordinary technological advancements, and AI is undoubtedly one of the most transformative forces shaping our world. And it's up to us to harness its power for good while being mindful of the potential pitfalls.
Well said. I think it's important to remember that this is really just the beginning of the conversation. We need to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions. The future of AI, it's ultimately in our hands.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of crypto and AI. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.